It's going to be a quite long sutta, but never mind, we try. Number 81, Ghatikara Sutta. Ghatikara the potter is a very important sutta, famous sutta. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering among the Kosalans together with a large sangha of monks. Then in a certain place beside the main road, the Blessed One smiled. It occurred to the Venerable Ananda, what is the reason, what is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? The Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. So he arranged his upper robe on one shoulder and extending his hands in reverential salutation towards the Blessed One, asked him, Venerable Sir, what is the reason, what is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? The Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. And the Buddha said, once Ananda, in this place there was a prosperous and busy market town called Vebalinga, with many inhabitants and crowded with people. Now the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, lived near the market town Vebalinga. It was here in fact that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, had his monastery. It was here in fact that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, resided and advised the Sangha of monks. Then the Venerable Ananda folded his patchwork cloak in four and spreading it out, said to the Blessed One, Then, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One be seated. Thus this place would have been used by two Arahants, Sammasambuddhas. Stop here for a moment. So this place in India where the Buddha walked now, he said the previous Buddha, Kassapa. Kassapa was the previous Buddha to our Sakyamuni Buddha. And later you'll see that actually the Buddha in his previous life had met this Buddha Kassapa. And then he became a monk under him. So it's interesting. Such a long time has passed by in this world. Wherever we are, if we can see the past, many things have happened in whatever place we have been. The Blessed One sat down on the seat that had been made ready, and he addressed the Venerable Ananda thus, Once Ananda, in this place there was a prosperous and busy market town called Vebalinga, with many inhabitants and crowded with people. Now the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, lived near the market town Vebalinga. It was here in fact that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, had his monastery. It was here in fact that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, resided and advised the Sangha of monks. In Vebalinga, the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, had as a supporter, as his chief supporter, a potter named Ghatikara. Ghatikara the potter had as a friend, as his close friend, a Brahmin student named Jyotipala. Stop here for a while. So in this sutta, the Buddha is going to recall the past when he was born as the Bodhisattva named Jyotipala, a Brahmin student. And his good friend was Ghatikara the potter. The potter in India is part of the working caste. Working caste, low caste. The high caste is the blue blood, the warrior caste, nobles, and the Brahmin caste, the priest caste. These two are the high caste. The low caste is the merchant class, Vesas, and the worker class. The worker class, they are called the Sudras. So this Ghatikara belonged to the low caste. But he was the chief supporter of the Buddha, Arahant Sammasambuddha Kassapa. One day the potter Ghatikara addressed the Brahmin student Jyotipala thus, My dear Jyotipala, let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. The Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? A second time and third time the potter Ghatikara said, My dear Jyotipala, let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. And the second and the third time the Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then, my dear Jyotipala, let us take a loofah and bath powder and go to the river to bathe. Very well, Jyotipala replied. Stop here for a moment. So here you see, Ghatikara, he wanted to invite this Jyotipala, his friend, to see his teacher, whom he says is the Arahant Sammasambuddha. But this Jyotipala refused to go because Jyotipala was a Brahmin belonging to a different religion and worshipping the Brahma as the creator God. So he thought of a way. We thought, okay, let's go to take a loofah. A loofah is a dried gourd. Dried gourd. It is fibrous and it's used as a sponge for scrubbing the body. So he said, let's go and take a bath. These Brahmins, they like to bathe in the river, soak themselves in the river 3 times before dawn and 3 times after dusk. So this Jyotipala agreed to go. So the potter Ghatikara and the Brahmin student Jyotipala took a loofah and bath powder and went to the river to bathe. Then Ghatikara said to Jyotipala, my dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. Jyotipala replied, enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? The second and third time, Ghatikara said, my dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One, Kassapa, etc. And the second and third time, the Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then the potter Ghatikara seized the Brahmin student Jyotipala by the belt and said, my dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. Then the Brahmin student Jyotipala undid his belt and said, enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then when the Brahmin student Jyotipala had washed his head, the potter Ghatikara seized him by the hair and said, my dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. Then the Brahmin student Jyotipala thought, it is wonderful, it is marvelous that this potter Ghatikara, who is of a different birth, should presume to seize me by the hair when we have washed our heads. Surely this can be no simple matter. And he said to the potter Ghatikara, you go as far as this, my dear Ghatikara. I go as far as this, my dear Jyotipala, for so much do I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. Then, my dear Ghatikara, let go of me, let us visit him. I stop here for a moment. So you see, this Ghatikara, he tried so hard to bring this Jyotipala, his good friend, to see the Buddha. Each time he refused. Asked him 3 times or so, he refused. And then after bathing, asked him to go again 3 times, again he refused. And he pulled him by the belt. Pulled him by the belt, also he refused to go. And then he felt there was no choice. Seized him by the hair, pulled him by the hair. Now this Ghatikara, being a low caste person, is what we call haram, not allowed to seize this, even touch the hair of this Brahmin, because this Brahmin is a high caste. Possibly, if this Brahmin reported to his other Brahmins, they might even kill this worker Ghatikara. So he was surprised that he dared to go so far to make him go to see the Buddha. Then his friend said he's willing. He goes so far because he thinks it's very important to see the Buddha. Then only Jyotipala agreed. So Ghatikara the potter and Jyotipala the Brahmin student went to the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. Ghatikara, after paying homage to him, sat down at one side, while Jyotipala exchanged greetings with him, and when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he too sat down at one side. Ghatikara then said to the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, remember, sir, this is the Brahmin student Jyotipala, my friend, my close friend. Let the Blessed One teach him the Dhamma. Stop here for a moment. You see, according to legend, they say that the Buddha in his past life, or Sakyamuni Buddha, in his past life, met 24 Buddhas, and each of them predicted that one day he will become the Buddha Sakyamuni. And also that the Buddha in his past life made a vow to become a Sammasambuddha. But you see here that it cannot really be true. If the Buddha actually made this vow to become a Sammasambuddha, he would be very happy to meet a Sammasambuddha. But here you see he had not much respect for the Sammasambuddha, refused to see him so many times, and eventually when he was pulled by the hair, and when he went, also he refused to pay respect to the Buddha. He just exchanged his greetings with the Buddha and sat down. So this legend is based on the Jataka stories and on the Paramis and all this, which is not in the suttas. It's a later creation. In the suttas we find the Buddha said he looked into the past as far as he could see that night. He probably didn't sleep the whole night. He looked into the past, 91 world cycles, and he said he only saw 6 Sammasambuddhas. In the suttas there's no mention of 24 Buddhas or 28 Buddhas or 88 Buddhas, etc. Only 6 Sammasambuddhas are mentioned. And out of these 6, our Sakyamuni Buddha in his past life only met met this Kassapa Buddha. And even in this sutta you find that the Buddha never predicted, Kassapa Buddha never predicted that Jotipala one day would be a Sammasambuddha. So anybody, it's up to whether that person takes the trouble to teach the Dhamma or not. Like our Buddha, after he was enlightened, he actually refused to teach. He wanted to be a Pacheka Buddha, but was persuaded to. Okay, then the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, instructed, urged, roused and encouraged Ghatikara the potter and Jotipala the Brahmin student with an exposition of the Dhamma. At the conclusion of the exposition, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One Kassapa's words, they rose from their seats, and after paying homage to the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, keeping him on their right, they departed. Stop here for a moment. So you see, this Jotipala, when he came to see the Buddha, he didn't have much respect for the Buddha. But after hearing the Dhamma, he was willing to pay homage to the Buddha. That means he understood the Dhamma. Later you see, most likely, he just hearing that Dhamma from the Buddha Kassapa, he attained this stream entry. Then Jotipala asked Ghatikara, now that you have heard this Dhamma, my dear Ghatikara, why don't you go forth from the home life into homelessness? And Ghatikara said, my dear Jotipala, don't you know that I support my blind and aged parents? And Jotipala said, then my dear Ghatikara, I shall go forth from the home life into homelessness. So Ghatikara the potter and Jotipala the Brahmin student went to the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. After paying homage to him, they sat down at one side. And Ghatikara the potter said to the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, Venerable Sir, this is the Brahmin student Jotipala, my friend, my close friend. Let the Blessed One give him the going forth. And the Brahmin student Jotipala received the going forth from the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, and he received the full ordination. So you see, just after listening to the Dhamma by the Buddha Kassapa, this Jotipala, whom earlier did not have faith, did not have respect for the Buddha, he understood the Dhamma and decided to go forth. It's very clear from here that he must have attained stream entry. Then not long after Jotipala, the Brahmin student, had received the full ordination, a half month after he had received the full ordination, the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, having stayed at Vebalinga as long as he chose, set out to wander towards Benares. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Benares, and there he went to live in the deer park at Isipatana. Now King Kiki of Kasi heard, it seems that the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, has reached Benares and is living in the deer park at Isipatana. So he had a number of state carriages made ready, and mounting a state carriage, drove out from Benares with the full pomp of royalty in order to see the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. He went thus as far as the road was passable for carriages, and then he got down from his carriage and went forward on foot to the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha. After paying homage to him, he sat down at one side, and the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged King Kiki of Kasi with an exposition of the Dhamma. At the conclusion of the exposition, King Kiki of Kasi said, "Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One, together with the Sangha of monks, consent to accept tomorrow's meal from me." And the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, accepted in silence. Then, knowing that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, had accepted, he rose from his seat, and after paying homage to him, keeping him on his right, he departed. Then when the night had ended, King Kiki of Kasi had good food of various kinds prepared in his own dwelling, red rice stored in the sheaf with the dark grains picked out, along with many sauces and curries. And he had the time announced to the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, thus, "It is time, Venerable Sir, the meal is ready." Then, it being morning, the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went with the Sangha of monks to the dwelling of King Kiki of Kasi, and sat down on the seat made ready. Then with his own hands, King Kiki of Kasi served and satisfied the Sangha of monks, headed by the Buddha, with the various kinds of good food. When the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, had eaten and had withdrawn his hand from the bowl, King Kiki of Kasi took a low seat, sat down at one side, and said, "Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. That will be helpful for the Sangha." "Enough, King. My residence for the rains has already been provided for." A second and third time, King Kiki of Kasi said, "Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. That will be helpful for the Sangha." "Enough, King. My residence for the rains has already been provided for." The king thought, "The Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, does not accept from me a residence for the rains," and he was very disappointed and sad. Then he said, "Venerable Sir, have you a better supporter than I am?" And the Buddha said, "I have, great king. There is a market town called Vebalinga, where a potter named Ghatikara lives. He is my supporter, my chief supporter." I stop here for a moment. So here you see, when the King Kiki invited the Buddha Kassapa to stay for the rains, the 3 months of the rains retreat, in his place, which he is going to provide for, the Buddha Kassapa refused to accept, saying that he already has a place. Then the king said, "You mean you have a better supporter than me?" And then the Buddha, being so straightforward, he said, "Yes, I have." And he says he has this supporter named Ghatikara. He's just a potter, a low caste man. Yet the Buddha says he's a better supporter than the king. And here then he explains why. "Now you, great king, thought, the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, does not accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares, and you were very disappointed and sad. But the potter Ghatikara is not, and will not be so. The potter Ghatikara has gone for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. He abstains from killing living beings, from taking what is not given, from misconduct in sensual pleasures, from false speech, and from wine, liquor, and intoxicants, which are the basis for negligence. He has perfect confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and he possesses the virtues loved by noble ones." In other words, he is an Arya. He is free from doubt about suffering, about the origin of suffering, about the cessation of suffering, about the way leading to the cessation of suffering. He eats only in one part of the day. He observes celibacy. He is virtuous, of good character. He has laid aside gems and gold. He has given up gold and silver, that is money. He does not dig the ground for clay, using a pick with his own hand. What is left over from embankments or thrown up by rats, he brings home in a carrier. When he has made a pot, he says, "Let anyone who likes set down some selected rice or selected beans or selected lentils, and let him take away whatever he likes." He supports his blind and aged parents. Having destroyed the 5 lower fetters, he is one who will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world. I stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha Kassapa is making clear to the king why Ghatikara is a better supporter, because Ghatikara is an Arya, third position Arya. So for somebody like the Buddha, doesn't mean this person is a king or is the richest man in the whole country, then he is a good supporter. The Buddha's standard is that this Ghatikara is a man who knows the Dhamma or practices the Dhamma, is an Arya. That's why to the Buddha, this Ghatikara is a better supporter. On one occasion, the Buddha said, when I was living at Vebalinga, it being morning, I dressed, and taking my bowl and outer robe, I went to the potter, Ghatikara's parents, and asked them, where has the potter gone, please? And they said, Venerable Sir, your supporter has gone out, but take rice from the cauldron and sauce from the saucepan and eat. I did so and went away. Then the potter Ghatikara went to his parents and asked, who has taken rice from the cauldron and sauce from the saucepan, eaten and gone away? My dear, the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha did. Then the potter Ghatikara thought, it is a gain for me, it is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha, relies on me thus. And delight and happiness never left him for a half month, or his parents for a week. Stop here for a moment. So here, normally according to the monk's rules, when a monk goes on alms round, the food, even in a house or in a monastery, when they offer food to a monk, it has to be handed to the monk's hands, given personally to the monk's hands. Then only is considered offered. But here, in this case, when the Buddha Kassapa went to Ghatikara's house, Ghatikara was not in the house. And his blind parents, knowing that it was the Buddha, just asked him to help himself. And he helped himself, took away the food and went away. So when Ghatikara came back, he asked who took the rice, and then his parents told him the Buddha took. He was so happy that the Buddha treated him as somebody very close, that even without offering, the Buddha takes it. So he was delighted and happy for 2 weeks, a whole 2 weeks, and his parents were delighted and happy for a whole week. On another occasion, when I was living at Vebalinga, it being morning, I dressed, and taking my bowl and outer robe, I went to the potter, Ghatikara's parents, and asked them, where has the potter gone, please? Noble Sir, your supporter has gone out, but take some porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan and eat. I did so and went away. Then the potter Ghatikara went to his parents and asked, who has taken porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan, eaten and gone away? My dear, the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha did. Then the potter Ghatikara thought, it is a gain for me, it is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha relies on me thus, and delight and happiness never left him for a half month, or his parents for a week. Stop here for a moment. So in a similar way, on another day, this occurred again. Again he was delighted non-stop for 2 weeks, and his parents for 1 week. On another occasion, when I was living at Vebalinga, my hut leaked, that means my kuti leaked. Then I addressed the monks thus, go monks, and find out if there is any grass at the potter Ghatikara's house. Venerable Sir, there is no grass at the potter Ghatikara's house, but there is the grass thatch on his roof. Go monks and remove the grass from the potter Ghatikara's house. They did so. Then the potter Ghatikara's parents asked the monks, who is removing the grass from the house? Sister, the hut of the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha is leaking. And they said, take it, Venerable Sirs, take it and bless you. Then the potter Ghatikara went to his parents and asked, who has removed the grass from the roof? The monks did, my dear. The hut of the Blessed One Kassapa, Arahant Sammasambuddha is leaking. Then the potter Ghatikara thought, It is a gain for me, it is a great gain for me that the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arhan, Sammasambuddha, relies on me thus. And the delight and happiness never left him for a half month, or his parents for a week. Then that house remained 3 whole months with the sky for a roof, and yet no rain came in. Such is the potter Ghatikara. And the king said, it is a gain for the potter Ghatikara. It's a great gain for him that the Blessed One, Kassapa, Arhan, Sammasambuddha, relies on him thus. Stop here for a moment. So this last part is quite interesting. When the Buddha's kuti was leaking, that means the Buddha's kuti had this atap roof, this grass thatch roof. So because it was leaking, there was a hole in it, and the Buddha asked his monks to get it from Ghatikara, but Ghatikara did not have a store of this dry grass. So the Buddha asked them to remove from his roof, and they did so. And this Ghatikara and his parents were overjoyed. Ghatikara for 2 weeks and his parents for 1 week. And for the whole 3 months of the rains, probably it was a rain season. It rained everywhere except on that roof. Then King Kiki of Kasi dispatched to the potter Ghatikara 500 cartloads of red rice stored in the sheaf, and also source materials to go with it. Then the king's men went to the potter Ghatikara and told him, "Noble sir, there are 500 cartloads of red rice stored in the sheaf, and also source materials to go with it, dispatched to you by King Kiki of Kasi. Please accept them." And he said, "The king is very busy and has much to do. I have enough. Let this be for the king himself." Now Ananda, you may think thus, certainly someone else was the Brahmin student Jyotipala on that occasion, but it should not be regarded thus. I was the Brahmin student Jyotipala on that occasion. That is what the Blessed One said. The Venerable Ananda was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. That's the end of the sutta. So this last part, when the king knew that the Buddha and the Sangha of monks was going to be supported for the whole Vasa, rain season, by Ghatikara, he dispatched 500 cartloads of rice, etc. But this Ghatikara just didn't want to accept it. He said he has enough. So it's not a greedy fellow. So this sutta is extremely informative as to the past life of the Buddha. This is the only one sutta in the whole of the Nikayas, out of 5,000 suttas, that mentions our Buddha in his previous life having met another Buddha. This is the only one. So you can see from here, you see when we read suttas, we have to. There's a lot of implications, we have to think carefully, and then we can understand a lot of things. Firstly, you can see from this sutta that the Buddha in this lifetime, under the Buddha Kassapa, he must have attained stream entry, and after attaining stream entry, he became a monk under this Buddha Kassapa, and then from there he was reborn. This is mentioned in some other suttas. After that lifetime, he was reborn in the Tusita heaven, where he was there for quite a long time. And after the Tusita heaven, he came down as the Siddhartha Gautama, his last life. And in the Vinaya books, it is mentioned that our Siddhartha Gautama, as a young boy, he could enter the first jhana under the Jambu tree. And in the suttas, the Buddha says all these meditative states are not attained in the heavens. It is attained in the human realm. Which means the first jhana that the Siddhartha Gautama practiced, he must have attained it when he was a monk under the Buddha Kassapa. So if he had already attained stream entry in that lifetime, and on top of that he had attained the first jhana, it is logical that he must have become a second fruition Arya, a Sakadagamin already under the Buddha Kassapa. Now, according to the suttas, Sakadagamin is called a once returner. That means he goes to heaven, then after that he comes back to be a human being for one last time. It's a once returner. He comes back one last time as a human being. As a human being, he must enter Nibbana. That explains very clearly why our Siddhartha Gautama, as a young man at the age of 29, having just married and having just had a son with such a good family background, such a good life, he just left the parents, even though his parents cried and wailed. In front of his parents, he cut off his hair, put on the yellow robe and walked out of the house. Parents pleaded with him not to go also in front of them. He left. This ordinary person cannot do. It's only an Arya. Because an Arya, his time is ripe already. Just like a durian fruit, a fruit. Ripe fruit, you don't need the wind to shake it. It will just drop by itself. So when a person's time has come, he just has to go off. So that explains why the Buddha in his last life, as Siddhartha Gautama left and struggled so hard and attained enlightenment. You see, when the Buddha in his last life, he struggled so hard, he could not attain enlightenment until he recollected his past life. When he recollected his past life, then he realized that he had been a monk under the Buddha Kassapa. And when he remembered that lifetime, all the Dhamma that he had learned came back to him. Without the Dhamma, nobody can become enlightened. So when he remembered the Dhamma he had learned, then he contemplated on the Four Noble Truths. Then when he contemplated on the Four Noble Truths, then only he became enlightened. Okay, we stop here. Anything to discuss? Yes. Yes. But you see, it is mentioned that this world cycle, we will have 5 Sammasambuddhas. So 3 have already gone by before our Sakyamuni Buddha. And it seems that all these Buddhas, they appear in this place of India called Majjhima Padesa. Majjhima Padesa, this is a middle country. So in the Ganges Valley. So that's why the Buddha was also around that area, our present Sakyamuni Buddha. That's why when he came to that place, he smiled. He smiled, and then whenever Ananda asked him. So they are all around that area. So you see, because of this word Majjhima Padesa, they translated into Chinese as Zhongguo, middle country. They translated as Zhongguo. So a lot of Mahayana monks in their books they say all the Buddhas appear in China because of the word Zhongguo. That's why they have this legend that Mahakassapa is now in deep samadhi in Chicken Foot Mountain in China, waiting for the next Buddha to come. Of course, there's no such thing. The Arhan has entered Nibbana. He doesn't enter samadhi to wait for the Buddha. So all these stories are way out. Okay, shall we end? Yeah? Do you have any questions? Yeah, okay.
Just now the Buddha Kassapa, he himself picked the food from the Ghatikara's house. Ghatikara's house. Does it take different to the whole
You see, that's why there are 2 things. One thing is the Buddha made these precepts for the monks but he is not bound by these precepts. Because you must realize a lot of these precepts, if a monk breaks the precepts, there is no moral misconduct. A lot of these precepts were made by the Buddha just to give a good image of the Sangha. Like the food has got to be offered in the monk's hands and all that. Just to give a good... But the Buddha also said that we should not be too attached to these precepts. Because if a monk is too attached to these precepts, then he cannot become a Sotapanna. Because when a person becomes a Sotapanna, 3 factors are eliminated. One of them is Sila Bhatta Paramasa. Attachment to Sila, rules, and Vata. Vata is all the observances, all the religious observances. All the religious observances. So, the Buddha said we must understand the purpose. Whatever we do, we must understand. For example, these precepts, there's a purpose for them. So like in this case, since the Buddha Kassapa is so close to this Ghatikara, that he knows that if he takes by himself, Ghatikara is not going to be offended. So in the same way, sometimes, like forest monks, there are certain close supporters. Even though there is a rule that a monk should not ask something from a lay supporter unless he has given an invitation. That means he has invited the monk to ask whenever he needs something. But there are certain supporters we know that are very close to us. So we know they are going to be very happy if we ask them for something, provided it's not overboard. It's something ordinary, not something that is too expensive or something. And if we know this lay person is going to be happy to provide, then we ask, even though he does not give the invitation. So we have to see the situation.
Can you verify that the about the relation to the Sila and
this attachment to rules and rituals is, as I mentioned, that we must know the purpose of the rules and not to follow them blindly. For example, there is a rule forbidding a monk to touch a lady out of lust. So because of that, for example, in Thailand, monks try to have no contact with women at all. That's why when women offer food or anything to a monk, a Thai monk will put out a cloth. He does not accept the thing directly from the woman's hands. He puts out a cloth for the woman to put the thing. But although there is such a rule, but we must not go too far. For example, to me, my personal opinion, of course, some monks may not agree. If I see a woman about to fall down, stumbling, I think I should go and help her so that she don't fall on her face or something. So we have to use our wisdom, not to be so attached. You see a woman falling also, you refuse to help her and she falls on the ground. Or if a woman falls into the drain or something, I need your help, you go and pull her out. Doesn't matter whether it's a woman or a man or a dog or anything, animal. Needs your help, you just help. I don't think so much. You think all your precepts, I cannot touch that woman, cannot help her out the drain. There's this attachment. So we have to use our wisdom. There's no hard and fast rule. No. But of course, having said that, also we have to be very careful that we don't make some excuse to break the precept. Sometimes some monks, they, because our mind is very cunning, you can always think up some excuse not to hold the precept. So you have to be very careful. For example, money precept. Some monks say, this is a modern world, without money you cannot travel and all these things. So it's alright to accept money. But then you must know, even though accepting money is not a major precept, but it can create a very poor image of the monk, bad image of the monk. So also if a monk accepts money, then there's the danger that he will use it in the wrong way to enjoy what he should not enjoy. That's why the Buddha forbade monks from possessing money. You have to be careful. Okay, we stop here.